Alright, so welcome everybody to another Dojo class. This one's going to be covering Logi 101, so basics of Logi. Going to go over what Logi is, the different ship types if you're going to fly Logi, their general role in a fleet, and we're going to do some setup on your UI to make it easier to fly Logi. And then we're going to do some practical stuff. I'm going to shoot you, and you guys are going to have to rep each other to stay alive. So again, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me and ask them. I'll try to keep up reading fleet chat too, but if I miss something there, let me know. So Logi, quick overview. Logi is what other games would refer to as the healers. It's short for logistics, which is stupid because it literally has nothing to do with logistics. They're just repairers. Uh, what's up? White. Yeah, sure. Um, whatever you want to call them. They're just the healers of the fleet. They are pretty vital to any fleet. There's very few comps that run without Logi just because it's so important to have some active reps to mitigate enemy DPS. And as such, since they're so important, they usually also get shot first. So if you fly Logi, you should be prepared to get primaried on most enemy by most enemy fleets. However, Logi ships also usually get some pretty good SRP, so you don't have to worry too much about losing Logi ships. So if you look in the MOTD, if it's already scrolled up for you, click the cogwheel in the top left of the fleet window and click Reload MOTD. I posted a bunch of fits for some of the common Logi ships that we use. We're a Shield Alliance, so these are all Shield Logi ships. You got the two frigates, the Bantam and the Burst. They're pretty entry level, they're fast. Logi's kind of small, but they're good for frigate and destroyer fleets. Then you got the two cruisers. There's the Osprey and the Scythe. We generally like to fly the Osprey. It's a bit tankier, and if you cap chain, which I will explain later, you can run all the caps without having to worry, or all the reps without having to worry about your cap at all. And they push out some pretty nice reps as well. The downside of the Osprey is, of course, since you have to cap chain with someone, you can't run just a single Osprey. And it's a bit more complicated than just running a Scythe. Then you have the T2 frigates. There's the Kirin and the Scalpel. They're both very nice Logi ships. I think a Scalpel or Kirin is equivalent to about 2/3 of a Basilisk if they are dead space reppers. And they're a lot smaller, but they're also a little bit less tanky. So you'll see these probably mostly on Harpy fleets, Jackdaw fleets, or Goku fleets where you're flying with bombers, just small stuff. That's the different type of Logi ships. I'm going to quickly explain cap chain for the Osprey pilots. So cap chaining is something that only Osprey pilots and Bazzi pilots use. What it refers to is, you'll see in the Osprey fit, it has two remote capacitor transmitters. What this module does is it uses up some of your cap to give some cap to your target. And the reason you use it is because the cap that you give is a lot more than the cap you use. So if you use this on someone else and they use it on you, the net gain, or the net effect on both of you is that you both gain more cap than you had before. And you have two because you cap chain with two different people to keep yourself cap stable. So if you have the proper cap chain set up, you can run your MWD, your invuln, all your reppers, and you won't run out of cap. Also this way, with these cap transmitters, if your FC or someone else important runs out of cap in the middle of the fleet, the Ospreys can cap them back up for one cycle. That's referred to as combat capping. And we'll do some cap chain practice in a second, but that's the general gist of what it is. So some quick UI setup before we actually go out and start practicing. There's two important UI, like fleet UI aspects that you're going to want to do if you're Logi. First is broadcasts. So everyone go to wait, where were broadcasts again? Yeah, everyone go to the fleet window and go to the history tab at the top and change the filters to broadcast history if it's not already. So this is where you see the broadcasts, whether it's FC broadcasting target or warp or anyone else broadcasting whatever they want. As Logi, the important ones for you are when people broadcast that they're hurt and they need repairs. So we're going to go ahead and set up the history so you can see those easily. So click the hamburger menu in the top left and click Broadcast Settings. And it's going to pop up all the different types of broadcasts. The checkbox on the left indicates whether you actually see those, and then there's a color picker on the right so you can color code your broadcasts, which I highly, highly recommend. As logi, you want broadcast need shield checked and color coded to something unique. Broadcast need capacitor checked and color coded. And then all the standard ones like warp to, align to, jump to. If it's a large fight, you should uncheck broadcast target, because as logi you don't need to see who the primary enemy is, you only need to see reps, and sometimes the broadcast targets can clear up or clutter up the history and makes it difficult to rep people. Just remember that after you fly logi, if you switch back to DPS ship, recheck broadcast target and uncheck the need shield and need capacitor ones, because those are not important to DPS ships. Once you've got those color coded, just go ahead and close the window. It saves automatically. And we'll set up the watch list as well. So the watch list lets you sort of monitor your fleet mates' health without having to actually lock them up. So everyone go to the My Fleet tab in the fleet window and right-click My Name at the very top for them and click Add to Watch List. That should pop up another little window, the watch list window, and you'll see my name. You won't see my health bars or anything because I'm docked, but you can also color code the targets on your watch list. If you don't see the color picker on the right, then click the hamburger menu in the top left of the watch list and click Enter Color Edit Mode. And then that should show up a little color picker for each entry in the watch list. You can put up to 15 on the watch list at once, so in a small fleet you might be able to watch list everyone, but in large fleets you'll want to prioritize. And in general, of course, you always want to watch list your anchor, your FC, your secondary anchor if there is one, your logi anchor if there is one, and then after like FCs, usually the FC will ask people to S up in the fleet chat if they're a special snowflake, which just refers to ships that are either really expensive or really important to the fleet, like Lynx or Dictors maybe, or Tackle. They're the people who, you know, if they start getting shot, you want to rep them quick. So those people will go on your watch list. After you've added those, you can kind of add people to your own discretion. You generally always want to fill up your watch list if you're flying logi, just because it's an easy way to monitor people's health. Again, you're going to want to color code those however you like. Just make it pretty easy to tell which is which. Oh, also Ospreys, you want to watch list your cap chain buddies. Put them somewhere near the top as well. Right, so last thing before we go is hotkeys. Everyone go ahead and press Escape and go to Shortcuts and Navigation. So you should already have Broadcast Need Shield set to something. If you don't, go ahead and set it now. That's, you broadcast that you need repairs yourself, which is important to any member of the fleet. Then you're also going to want to set up Broadcast Need Capacitor just in case. Set it to something easy. And the rest are not, I think, too important for logi. So once you set those two, go ahead and close the window. Cool. Once you have that set up, go ahead and undock and stop your ships, and we're going to do some practical training. While we're undocking, does anyone have any questions? All right, cool. Everyone take this warp to attack. Looks like we have a lot of freaking Ospreys. Okay, that's great, but also this might make it a little harder for the practical demonstration, but we'll see. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to teach the Ospreys how to set up their cap chain in the actual fleet. And then I'm going to start shooting people, and you guys have to rep each other. So there's a channel linked in the MOTD of the fleet. I'm going to link it again here, Brave Ospreys 2. I want all the Ospreys to join that channel and nobody else. Only Ospreys. Once you guys are in that channel, make sure you can see the member list, and then kind of open up the member list a little bit so you can see all the names. It's default sorted by alphabetical, so everyone should see the same member list in the same order. And I mentioned earlier that each Osprey has 2 cap chain buddies. The way you find them is that in that channel you go 1 up and 1 down from your name. So I'm going to join it real quick just to see, because I need to be able to see the member list. But so like if you look at the member list right now, if I was an Osprey, if Forum was an Osprey, 1 up from me is Baranor and 1 down from me is Izzy. So those would be my cap chain buddies. Those would be the people that I give 1 cap transmitter each to. So I'm going to leave the channel now, and I want you guys to add your cap chain buddies to your watch list and also set up your cap chain. So just start activating 1 module on each of your cap chain buddies. Falco, it's almost always 1 up and 1 down. It's a very safe way to do it. It's slightly more complicated, but it's safe because if someone gets jammed or someone dies, you still have 1 cap chain buddy who can keep you going for a little bit while you adjust. In Brave, I'm pretty sure you can always just assume 1 up, 1 down. So everyone, make sure that you are both transmitting 1 cap to each of your buddies and also receiving 2 from 2 different people. You can see who you're receiving from by hovering over the blue cap icon above your like shield health, and it should say like cap transferred from 1x from one buddy and 1x from the other buddy. If anyone is having if anyone's having any trouble finding buddies, or if anyone is not receiving 2 from 2 different people, let me know. Cap chaining is kind of the most complicated part of flying in Osprey. You guys got it totally set up? It looks pretty good. Awesome. Wow, that's a lot better than I expected. Right, so now we're just going to start some practice. So everyone just orbit me at 500. That's orbit Forum at 500. And then I'm just going to start shooting people. If you are the one getting shot, you need to broadcast for shields immediately. And then everyone else needs to rep the person who broadcasted. In general, it is the person who is being shot's responsibility to broadcast. It is not Logi's responsibility to proactively look for people who are injured. But, you know, in some cases, you should still try to catch people even if they don't broadcast and they're bad. For now, not yet. So everyone that I start aggroing, I want to see your broadcast in the history. Nice. So I'm seeing some broadcasts from people that I've locked up but not shot yet. In general in fleets, that's actually a good idea. You want to broadcast when you get mass yellow boxed by the fleet, so that gives your Logi more time to lock you. But in this specific case, just only broadcast when you're getting hit. Make sure you're watching your health, watching the aggro. Broadcast if you're hurt. I'm only using 5 lights right now, so you guys should have more than enough reps to hold people. Alright, let's get the other DPS to start shooting random targets as well. Just don't like, not too much. Just give it like 200 or 300 DPS. For the logi pilots, usually in big fleets, there won't be more than 1 or 2 people being shot at once. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll be shooting maybe 2 or 3 people at once, but normally you only have to worry about 1 at a time, if the enemy fleet has good discipline. Which sometimes is a big if. So target management is also another key aspect of logi. That's why a lot of requirements for logi have target management and advanced target management, so you can lock a bunch of people. The general, sorry, hold on. The general rule of thumb is just kind of try to triage. If there's multiple people getting shot at once, just go for the person, start repping the person who's like most important to the fleet. Like if the FC is getting shot, rep the FC. You know, prioritize maybe a Dictor over a DPS ship depending on the circumstances. Generally, some of the really light E-War or tackle, like maybe a Condor, Atron, or Crucifier, you can try to rep them, but also they're so fragile that they'll probably die anyway before you can rep them. But it's not a hard and fast rule. You really just kind of have to decide for yourself. Generally, though, in fleet fights, if the enemy fleet starts trying to kill someone, and then your logi catches and you hold that target, they probably won't switch back to that target for a while. So if you're at max targets, you can just try unlocking the person who got shot the longest time ago. That just depends on the severity. If there's a lot of DPS coming in, then just use 3. But you can also, you can see their health, so you can see how much they need. All right, so now I'm also going to start applying newts to some of the ospreys and maybe some of the other people too. If you get neuted and you start running out of cap, I want you to broadcast need capacitor, and then all the ospreys are going to do what's called combat capping. What you do for that is you take your capacitor transmitters off of your cap buddies just for 1 cycle, give the cap to the person who needs it just for 1 cycle, and then put it back on your cap buddies. And the osprey should have plenty of enough cap to do that. So watch for those broadcasts. Although I'm actually not even sure that I can newt out an osprey that's cap chained. But if you get neuted, just broadcast anyway. Okay. Actually, just let me do the neuting because I don't want them switching off too much. So at this point, most people should be back on their cap buddies, and I'm going to do another one here. Even if you're not actually getting neuted out, try to just broadcast need cap when I start neuting you. Thanks, because yeah, I don't think the Ishtar has enough neuting power to neut out an osprey. Last time I did this class, I used a Dami and like 5 heavy neuts, but then I lost it. Alright, cool. So that's just some practice combat capping. You almost, I'd say 95% of the fleets you won't need to combat cap anyone, but it's useful to know how to do. So now for the last stage, I'm just going to put out my heavies instead of my lights. They deal, I think, like 5 times more damage. And for the other damaged ships, start kind of piling on more DPS if you notice that people are able to hold well. So here comes more DPS. This means you guys are going to have to be more on point with your broadcasting and more on point with catching the broadcasts. Yeah, don't shoot the Venture or the Malediction. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot to mention. If you have ECM drones, it's a good idea to just start putting them on enemy DPS. So if you have ECM drones, go ahead and try to put them on me. If you jam me out, actually for me, since I'm a drone boat, it won't matter. But normally, if you jam out DPS ships with your drones, that does help the incoming DPS a bit. Why am I doing so little damage to you, Baranor? God damn. Are you using the Omoa Osprey? Oh, I guess not then. I don't think we have enough DPS here to warrant. Oh, I got gemmed out. To warrant heating reps, but just keep in mind that you can also heat your reps if someone is taking a lot of damage, and even, all the logi using all reps can't hold them. Is one of the DPS ships also neuting? Okay, because I'm seeing some capacitor broadcasts, but I'm not neuting anyone, so you guys shouldn't really be running out of cap. Okay, yeah, that's good then. That's good practice if you are getting neuted. Oh yeah, people might not be. Make sure you guys are running your hardeners. That's okay. With the Osprey cap chain, you can afford to run everything constantly. All right, I think I have cycled through every single person now, right? So it looks like you guys are keeping very, very well on top of your broadcasts and on top of the reps. And on top of the cap chain as well. So nice job. Let me go ahead and pull my damage now. DPS, you can go ahead and stop shooting. That'll be the end of the practical part of the demonstration, and also, I guess, the end of the class. I didn't have anything else. With just what you learned in this class, you're already ready to fly Logi in any fleet, except maybe a Strat because they mostly take Bazzies. But definitely go and try it out, and ask people if you need help. Logi is always needed on every fleet. Like we almost never have I wouldn't say enough, but we never have too many logi. So you'll always be welcome in any fleet. And again, you'll get pretty good SRP. And yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just if you die, make sure that you leave the channel that the FC had specified. And also, before you leave, say -1, so that people can tell that you left. Because one person leaving the cap chain can mess up the whole thing if people don't realize. You should also do this if you like get caught out, like if you're behind in jumps or for whatever other reason you can't be in the cap chain. Maybe you burnt out a cap transfer or something. Just let the fellow logi know. Sometimes also there will be a separate anchor for the logi. You won't anchor on the FC, but you'll anchor on the LC instead, which stands for Logi Commander. That's pretty rare and usually only in really large fleets when you need to keep the whole logi wing somewhere safe. But just be aware for that. Sometimes FC might call that there's an LC, and that's who you anchor on. Maester, the DPS? No, it's fine. I mean, some of them came pretty close, but we're not trying to accidentally kill anyone here. So I'm going to call that the end of the class here.